Hello and welcome to the Ham Radio Guy podcast. My name is Marvin and my call sign is W0MET. I'm here to connect you with the latest tips, tricks, news, and stories to take your ham radio experience to the next level. Whether you're a seasoned operator, a weekend poker warrior, or just getting started, this is the place to be. Well, hello and welcome to episode number 63. We're going to be talking about amateur radio conduct. But before that, we're going to get into a little bit of news, and I'm not doing the news segment this week. I've just got some things I want to discuss and talk about and share. And one of them is going to be in the beginning here, talking about VE2DX. Oh, there's my script. And let's get me on the show here. So I think part of it is you're going to also see this as being a live stream this week. This is a video podcast. And so I will have this out directly on YouTube here. For you to be able to see, and you can actually look at what I'm looking at and seeing the screen. And the first thing I want to come to mind was VE2DX is closing. I'm sure several of you have seen him at Hamcation, Ham Expo, Dayton, and he makes different HDMI interfaces for a lot of icon products, and he's got some really cool stuff. I mean, it's been really cool stuff I've seen. He's got like some switches for like doing like SO2R and some different meters. So I mean, some just really cool stuff that he's created over the years. But some remote antenna switches, some interlocks, Bluetooth interfaces. So really cool stuff he's got. If you're a tinker and you want it, we'll talk about it is available for online, but go up to his blogs and tips. And obviously you can see in the big red there, it's VE2DX is closing. And I found out about this through another party that was looking for some booths at Huntsville, or I'm sorry, at Hamcation. And they called him and said, hey, a booth just came open. So it's like, well, who we're replacing here? So major announcement came out on September 19th, and which is kind of odd because he, says right in the beginning of the letter, please be advised that we cannot and will not ship anything to the USA as of September 19th, 2025, because the shipping companies in Canada will not take any shipment unless we pay your tariffs in advance. So it's unfortunate that politics have become involved in this, and that, we have to, they have to pay a tariff for this ham radio stuff. Excuse me. I know any of my afternoon caffeine and 2 cups of coffee this morning was not enough, but the tariffs are from U.S. Customs, and there have been many administrative errors, such as the fact that our products are covered by all USMCA and should not be subject to any tariffs at all. As a result, U.S. Customs is requesting that transport companies pay advance for U.S. citizen tariffs. Consequently, the transport companies are charging our company tariff fees, making it impossible to collect the payments from our customers many weeks or months after the fact. So anyway, bottom line is they're not shipping anymore. And number 2, they have ceased all or canceled all 2026 Hamfest. I guess I need to just get a good one out and be done for Yon. Wow, I don't know why all of a sudden this hit me. So that's, I told you at the very beginning, is like, that's how I knew they were closing or something was going on, because they canceled their presence all Hamfest. VE2DX design is for sale. If you're a tinker and you want to play, you want to figure this out, he's willing to help mentor a little bit, but I don't know how well that would work from a Canadian standpoint. I've never yawned on screen before. This is unbelievable. And I don't feel like this is boring. This is actually kind of cool. But I'm really surprised that all of a sudden just hit me. I guess I need my afternoon nap. I'm not sure. Anyway, and then, it says, are we going to close? Yes, many of them following, supporting us from the very beginning. No later than last week, I was in New Hampshire to discuss a potential U.S. partner and initiate some manufacturing in the USA, but the numbers just aren't there. So he will be closing as of November 2025 and will no longer exist. So, like anything else, you may have some great products and want to be able to, buy those products. But I was interested in like a remote antenna switch maybe, but the fact that he's closing, worry about warranty. I did the same thing with MFJ. And so, It's one of those things that I just won't buy products like that coming from a company anywhere that's closing and shutting its doors, and not able to get warranty or parts or anything else down the road. Just concerns me. So I have a hard time with that. But I get what he's where he's going with this, and he's not exactly a young guy himself. So it may be just one of those things that he's just got time to close the doors, and there's nobody else there to take it. So he wants to thank everyone for their support over the great 6 years. And again, I've met with him, I've talked with him several times, has some cool products, and so that's something to think about there. For VE2DX closing its doors, and so another ham radio company kind of shutting down. That's kind of sad. We've seen this happen to Stepper IR. We saw this to an antenna company over in Europe. They got bought out by Wemo as Optibeam. So they maybe just kind of changed hands there. MFJ obviously closed, I think it was last year. So just a lot going on there that we have to deal with otherwise. So anyway, so that's the news we got there. And that's unfortunate that we have to kind of deal with that a little bit. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention was, I won't necessarily put this on the screen, but I got this in my mail, and this comes from the ARRL, and I get their weekly, newsletters, whatever. And I think this is, again, kind of politics coming in a little bit, but the ARRL needs every radio amateur in the United States to send letters to Washington as we continue our nationwide grassroots campaign to pass the Amateur Radio Emergency Act. So to secure the antenna rights, the process is simple. Click on the button ARRL.org/HOA, put in your call sign, and press the red Send My Letters button. It takes mere seconds. So they've got a really cool system set up to do this. I had not done this yet to date. I need to do this. I will be getting this done myself. Not just because the ARRL says so, but it's because it is something that's been around for, I remember they were trying to do PRB1 back in early 2000s, maybe late 90s even. And they've been working on forever to get in some type of legislation through to be able to have antennas and HOAs. I am so sorry. I don't know why I've sat down here and all of a sudden I could feel like I just crash. But we're going to continue because this is the live stream and this is what we do. And I've got a great topic here yet for today of amateur code of conduct. And so I want to be able to talk about that just briefly here in a few minutes, but let's finish getting through the rest of the stuff. So the letters will automatically be sent to your elected officials, encouraging them to send the bipartisan bills, which is cool. It's bipartisan, but unfortunately I live here in the state of Massachusetts right now, and I'm not sure Pocahontas really cares. You probably give two shits, for lack of better terms, whether she passes this bill or not, which is unfortunate. But I'll still do my part and send this over because hopefully every voice matters in some way or another, and they get enough of this going, wow, we had no idea. So whether you're a licensed ham or not, you can do this, and I think it's very important that you go out and try and help out those who are in restricted areas and have issues. That there's a voice out here for amateur radio, and that we care and we pay attention to this crap. So I think it's very important that you go out and take just a few minutes to do this. Again, ARRL.org/HOA, put in your call sign and hit the button. I mean, it's simple. I mean, it'll probably take you 30 seconds, if that even. Probably take you longer to turn your computer on and get the thing to boot up than it will for what you have to go do here. So I think it's very important that you go do this on behalf of other fellow amateur radio operators. I don't care whether you like the ARRL or not. That's not that's not the point here. We want to be able to help out those fellow brothers and sisters that live in HOA restricted authority houses where some homeowner there thinks that they are God and that they can only make the rules, and they don't want these antennas up everywhere and they look like crap. So that's why I don't live in HOA. That's why I live out in the country and have a 65-foot tower up. But for those who don't necessarily always have that luxury. We need to be able to help them out and provide those letters of support. Some people have emailed the representatives if they know who they are. Others are just, maybe sending out manual letters. I don't know if they can still get them or not, but there's information how to do that, and you can complete the letter. You can modify it. There's some sample letters on this ARRL site. And I'll put a link in the show notes description for this as well, so that you can go out and find this. So after the broadcast, I will get this added on to the live stream and the notes and add that in there so you know those links to where to go to. The other thing is I want to wrap up with on for news and stories. And in my last episode, we talked about emergency preparedness, MCOM a little bit for September, which is Emergency Preparedness Month. And this is my second part of that series that I wanted to be able to discuss a little bit. It should maybe been, it could have been its own probably podcast in itself, but we're going to make this more of a monologue that we'll be talking about reasons why we want to get involved with emergency preparedness. So, I think everyone knows amateur radio has been a long vital partner with agencies like emergency management agencies and like Red Cross and trying to think some of the others I should know off the top of my head. I'm drawing a blank, but they've supported different organizations for bike-a-thons and passing traffic, emergency situations from hurricanes and tornadoes and floods across the board. And so, obviously that takes a lot of resources of people to be able to be a part of that emergency preparedness. And my challenge to you, now you don't have to go out and do this by October 1st because it's the end of the month, or just because the month ends saying, well, I don't have to worry about it anymore. Is that I want you to go out and try and find a way to be a part of a greater good. Go out and get involved, be a part of a community agency, whether it's ARES, RACES, or CERT, or just some other emergency management group, a communication team, somebody that does maybe it's a team that just does the set exercises, simulated emergency test, which will be coming up here in the beginning of October. So whatever that group is, that you're going out and finding a way to get involved, get trained with them, and practice with them what it takes. Now you may have to go out and get some classes online first, doing like a NIMS emergency class 100, 200, 700, 800, something like that. You may have to take some of those courses. You may have to go get Oxcom first, or make that as part of your, maybe part of your requirements to get those courses accomplished and completed, so that you have an understanding of how the emergency incident command system works when it does come down to an emergency, and you're not the one in charge, because you won't be. You're going to be told where to go, what to do, what to eat, when to eat, etc. So you'll be given all that information. So so as September comes to an end, doesn't mean you don't have to worry about emergency preparedness now for another 11 more months. So you need to be prepared for whenever that situation happens. Again, whether it's a tornado, a flood, a fire, whatever it is. And maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not. I don't know. I run through these scenarios in my head. If I'm in my bedroom, all right, I have a fire, what goes on? If I live in an area, I'm not much prone to flooding, but if I was, water's coming in, where's my bag? Is it going to be dry? If water does come in, is it on a shelf or is it on the floor? If it's a tornado, and you've got, just minutes to get out the door, you got to grab this, grab that, grab this. No, don't worry about your curling iron. We don't care. We need to grab our stuff and go. We got to get out of here. Tornadoes. We got to go to the basement. Do you keep your go bag in the basement? Do you keep it in your cellar? Do you keep it in a protected closet somewhere that you can, a safe house of some sort. Maybe you have, a trap door you have to open up and go into, that you're safe against any, uh, falling debris that would come in from a tornado, or other things of wind, of the damage coming crushing down on you in your basement if you were down there for some reason. So, do you have that protected gear? Do you have a whistle, those sort of things, to be able to call out if you were still alive, and you were able to make these things work? So, um, things to think about, things to do, but go get involved somewhere. That's the bottom line of the story here, was that, how do you give back to the community? How do you help out? Um, are you available to be able to do that? So just because September ends doesn't mean that you stop being prepared. So, have that ham ready supply list. I think I got one out there. I put out there. I think I published a note to it in my last episode. If not, I'll go back and double check that. But I'm pretty sure it got published as a link to a document page I've got. Know your risk. Are you, if you're living in Kansas, you probably don't have to worry about hurricanes, or maybe flooding much, but you probably got to worry about tornadoes. So, what risk are known to you that you can have around your area? And then, do you have your go kit? Do you know where it is, and how do you get to it? Things like that. So those are things I want you to think about, again, for emergency preparedness for this month. And that's going to be it for kind of my news stories, my information that I wanted to be able to get through. So we will go into some other information here, and then we'll get into our segment for this week.
Trust? ABR Industries has you covered. Proudly American built and reliable, ABR Industries delivers premium coax cable and connectors for all your communication needs. Whether you're a ham radio operator, work in broadcast, or manage critical infrastructure, ABR ensures that you are connected when it matters most.
And it has such tremendously different characteristics.
From static to clarity, ABR products. Built tough, built here, built for you. ABR Industries. American built and reliable. Visit abrind.com today and experience the strength of superior connectivity. It's the only coax here in the W0MET Ham Shack. Use code SAVE10 Ham Radio Guy. ABR Industries, where reliability meets performance. I hope that just came through for the ABR Industries on the live stream here. If not, I'll have to figure out what's going on or why that didn't come through. So hopefully it was not just 30 seconds of awkward silence. Maybe it was. But the other thing I wanted to talk into, if you're enjoying this podcast and you enjoyed the content that I put out, come be a part of something bigger, while unlocking some great, awesome perks. Join the Ham Radio Guy community over on Patreon, the tech level, the general level, or extra class level, and get all the perks, with each one of those. And you can sign up for free as well, but that doesn't help me much. And I'm sorry, I don't give early access to the free members. So I really, need your support. I'm going to go on a little bit of a different moment here before I go into that. Is I'm trying to, I don't know if you may see, hopefully over the next week or two here. Now I'm back from Wisconsin. I can have back in my studio, back in my chair, back with my good equipment. And I have to come out and say that I got my last job was cut on September 12th because of budget cuts. And so that's the second job in a row now that's happened with, and it's very unfortunate. So I'm without a job right now. So you might see more content coming. I actually get a chance to get my videos put together. You might see a few more podcasts coming out, and I hope that will encourage you to be a part of the channel and help me during this time, as I've got time to focus on a little bit more content creation. And I hope that, may sound like a beg or a plea. in some ways, but I'm just being quite honest with you, and as I always have and will be. And so it's a little disheartening right now, trying to figure out where I'm going to circulate myself back around to, and what's going to happen next. I really don't know. Wasn't really planning on a change, so it's been a little bit of a struggle to figure some of this out. And so I could use your support, and I appreciate you listening and being part of this podcast. Again, go out and join the Ham Radio Guy over at patreon.com. And you can find the links always in any of my video notes descriptions on YouTube as well. So anyway, that's one reason I started doing this video stream today, but it may be a little bit of a correction in getting some of the audio to go through. We'll see if that works or not. We'll figure that out down the road if that's a mistake. But anyway, I want to say thank you for your support as always. For those who are patrons, help keep the podcast going strong and bringing fresh content and growing this amazing community. And I love you guys to death. I appreciate the 5 or 6 that are paid members, and I hope that I can double that. I've got like 20 some members now. Thank you for being part of those members for the Ham Radio Guy, and appreciate your support. So anyway, you will see more videos come out here over the next week as well. I've got parents coming in town, so there will be a little bit of a delay there for a few days here as we spend some time with them. But I'll carry my laptop with me if I got time in the hotel in the evenings or something, or if I'm around, I will try and spend a little time doing some editing. But we will see how that goes. Well, as always, the Ham Radio Guy podcast is brought to you by Dakota Lithium, powering your ventures with batteries built to last. Whether you're heading out for a POTA activation, gearing up for field day, or just need reliable power for your ham shack, Dakota Lithium has you covered. With twice the power, half the weight, and an amazing 11-year warranty, batteries designed to keep you on the air longer. I've been using Dakota Lithium now for portable operations, and let me tell you, the performance is unmatched. No more worrying about dead batteries in the middle of an activation, just pure dependable power wherever you need it. I will have to admit, I did have that failure you'll see on my POTA activation video, and I don't know if it was a battery issue. I don't know if it was the power cable issue. I don't know if it was the just the amplifier not coming on for some reason. But ultimately the batteries worked well in the end and seemed to be working just fine. And, everything turned out to be okay. But again, I had Dakota Lithium with me. I was, as I say in the video, 2 is 1, 1 is none. And I was glad that I had 2 of them with me to try and make something work. And so I did carry them with me on the Alaska activation, and I'm glad I did. So check them out today at dakotalithium.com, and be sure to tell them the Ham Radio Guy sent you. Check the show notes for my link and the discount code you can use to save money there. So I do believe them. They're great batteries, and I think you'll find them compared to any other battery out there. But you can compare them, but you won't get the amazing 11-year warranty. And you definitely, the weight is just incredible on them. So I don't know if you can see to my, if you're watching the video on YouTube, you'll see I actually have a 100-watt battery down here in my corner and behind me. And I use that to power my ham shack as well. Keep that charged at all times and go from there. So it is well worth it. And I usually have a couple of them. Here we go. I've got one more laying back here to my right here as well. I do got 2 Bionas I own, but and I do use my Dakota Lithium batteries as my primary battery wherever I'm at. So, well, with that, let's get into the topic of the week here. See what's going on. All right. Well, I was going to play an interlude there, but I'm not seeing that in my quick notes. So we will forgo that. Don't know why that one wasn't showing up on here. And I know we definitely did not want a clause. And we don't want the... Well, it is what it is. It's part of going to live stream versus the ability to edit and have something different. So it's the way live stream goes. And so it is what it is. Well, as I said, we're diving into something a little different today. We're going to looking at something very foundational for us for amateur radio operators. And I've talked about parks in the air. I've talked about different gear. I've talked about doing mobile operations. I've talked about like I guess one of my future episodes I'm coming up here in the future here is just called QRP, and I even have another one on antennas coming up. So, but those are all great, but sometimes we all know about 7.200 and the amateur radio that's on there. We hear stories of people on amateur radio that are maybe not licensed, that are causing willful interference. We know with the sad hams, as we call it, that will just chew a new technician out for using 10.4 on the radio. There's people who say you don't know Morse code, therefore you're not an amateur radio operator. And so it's all about character. It's talking about our ethical roots of amateur radio. And that's where the amateurs code or the DX code of conduct comes from. And this has been around, I think this was written all the way back in 1928. And, I think most of them today, we refer to it as the DX code of conduct. And this is basically a set of guidelines that I think maybe it was reintroduced around 2010 to, just specific more for DXing, to be able to deal with. I think that's when maybe DXing was always around, but maybe it picked up during that time for some reason. I don't know why 2010 was the year, but we all know how a pileup goes. Whether you're doing 13 colonies, route, you tell me whatever you want, 66, maybe summer field day or winter field day, maybe it just maybe it's a good DX station, and amateurs at that point just don't give a shit. They just want to get their call sign in the law. And so maybe they just had to say, hey, we've had this in place since 1928, but we need to remind people. And it's always good to remind people out there once in a while. I mean, people remind people about safety all the time. Well, let's remind us about our code of conduct. So amateur radio, back in its early days, there was a lot less of us then as well. And, probably getting on the air and being rude or abrupt to others probably was not such a big deal. But we also know those who are on doing parks on the air, and they're on, 14.272, let's say. And the person gets on there and says, hey, we've got a net. We start here at 4:00. I need you to clear the air. Well, the net's not, the frequency is not yours. It's everybody's. I'm here doing my POTA activation. Not trying to be rude, but, it does say you change your location instead. Not the POTA guy who was already there. He's already got that frequency occupied. So it's unfortunate. I'm sorry. I didn't know that you had a net at 4:00, but, it is what it is. So back in 1928, again, back in its early days, a young attorney named Paul Siegel, W9 Echo Echo Alpha, saw the need for something more than just technical know-how of FCC regs. Regulations. I mean, we'll call it regs for short. Siegel was the general counsel for the ARRL at the time, and he wrote, wasn't a list of rules, but more of a moral compass for amateur radio operators. So his code of conduct appeared in the 1927 edition of the Amateur Radio Handbook. It was reprinted many times over the years, and you can still go out and find it. And you may have seen it on walls of other places, or maybe an old ham shack guy that posts this on his wall. And it's basically outlining what it takes to be a good ham. And most likely that was probably Siegel's work that you probably saw. Again, this is not about, FCC regulations that he was writing about, but it's, you know, something much more deeper than just what type of rig you had or how many watts you were running, and, you know, what two trees the dipole was run through. This is talking about the person behind that mic or that key that was operating. And back in 1928, you know, when that came out, it really caught on fast. You know, it showed up in the QST magazine, club newsletters, shack walls, eventually online, and, you know, it's still promoted and endorsed by the ARRL today. So you're going, well, I've never heard of this. I've never seen this. What is the amateur code of conduct you speak of? So I'm going to break this down to about 6 different pieces, I believe, if I remember right. I haven't looked further down my notes yet to see. But this is what Siegel believed back in 1928. And first one is the amateur is a gentleman. So he never knowingly uses the air for his own amusement in such a way to lessen the pleasure of others. So he abides by the pledges given by the ARRL in his behalf to the public and government. Number 2, the amateur is loyal. He owes his amateur radio to the American Radio Relay League, and he offers it unswerving loyalty. The amateur is progressive. Number 3, he keeps his station abreast of science, built well and efficiently. His operating practice is clean and regular. The amateur radio is friendly, slow and patient when sending requested. Friendly advice and counsel to the beginner. Maybe some need to be reminded of that occasionally. Kind assistance and cooperation for the broadcast listener and those making the amateur spirit. And the amateur is balanced. The radio is the hobby. He never allows it to interfere with any of the duties he owes to his home, his job, his school, or his community. And then obviously the amateur is patriotic. His knowledge of station are very ready for the service of his country and community. That was written by Paul Siegel in 1928. So I'll simplify this for you in short explanations, give you the 6 different characteristics. You're considerate, loyal, progressive, friendly, balanced, and patriotic. Those are your six categories. That should just be, I call it, you know, a good Christian human being, person overall, right? You know, that makes it, you know, seems like, you know, pretty straightforward thinking, I would say. Again, this isn't about enforcing rules. It was about setting a tone and a call to operate with integrity when no one's watching or listening. And be honest, that guidance is still needed today. Like I said, pretty timeless. It definitely means a lot. Again, I'm going to review those one more time. Considerate, loyal, progressive, friendly, balanced, and patriotic. Those are your 6 categories. So, you know, the considerate is not interfering with others, you know, so that everybody can enjoy the airwaves. Loyal is about standing by fellow hams, your ham radio club, the ARRL. Balanced reminds us not to let the hobby overshadow our responsibilities of family, work, or community. And patriotic, serving our, you know, service-oriented mindset, serving our communities, helping out in those times of disaster, as I spoke of earlier, and being ready to help when needed. Whether it's a disaster response or that public, you know, service event of a bike-a-thon or something like that. So this isn't about policing and you know, creating a set of rules. This was basically just making sure everybody has that mutual respect and courtesy to be decent on the airwaves. And apparently, back in 1928, there were still signs of selfishness, even though there was less people, less amateurs then than there is today. Bad manners seem to creep up. So he created this, this code of conduct to ground people in some form of civility. And I hope that we would think about these things yet today. And I'm not sure that everybody sees this or has this. And it's one of those things I wouldn't mind find a wall in my shack somewhere to post these and be that gentle reminder occasionally when you want to become that a-hole on the radio or the sad ham. So if we forward to about 1950s and beyond, that's when DXing really heated up. Pilots grew, competition intensified, and unfortunately, so did operating habits. Frequency hijacking, intentional QRM, general chaos. We it's 2025, almost 2026 here. And, we still have this same issue. So as we continue to experience this and have this go on, around 2010, this is about where that 2010 comes in now. Randy Johnson, W6SJ, put pen to paper and created the DX specific code, not to replace Siegel's, but to build on it. Basically, the code is short, thoughtful, and focused entirely on making DXing fair and enjoyable for everyone involved. Since then, it's gained serious traction with DXers who want to do things right. And the DX code doesn't replace Siegel's amateur code, but it basically builds on it. It focuses on what needs to be a respectful operator during pileups, which are, let's face it, high pressure situations. Everyone wants that new country, that rare island, that next contact for the field day, whatever it might be. But this was really written for DX, so more about getting that next country or that rare island. So very similar to what Siegel written in 1928. Now, Randy Johnson has written this as basically 6 different short sentences that's kind of changed a little bit. But I think the same principles as I listed above earlier, considerate, loyal, progressive, friendly, balanced, patriotic, still apply. I will listen and then listen again before calling. Number 2, I will only call if I can copy the DX station properly. I will not tune up on the DX frequency or the QSX slot. I will not call continuously. I will call and then listen. I will not transmit when the DX operator calls another call sign, not mine. And I will respect my fellow hams and conduct myself in a courteous manner. So again, pretty common sense stuff. 6 short sentences, but unfortunately, a lot of these, as you all know, are commonly ignored. So, when that adrenaline is pumping and you're going, oh man, I got the ham alert. This island's on the air, or this country's on the air. I've got to get it. I've got to push it in there. You really don't have that I don't care attitude at the moment. And, I think the good things come to those who are patient and will be courteous as well. So I think that does play a lot into it. But, from the technical side of amateur radio, we got new modes and better antennas and SDRs and remote operations. And we always get new gear. And we're always getting new amateurs, new technicians, new generals, new extras that are joining in. And it's the people that keep this hobby alive. Not the new modes and antennas and equipment and gear. But the 2 codes from Siegel and Johnson really remind us how operating matters, just how we operate matters just as much as what we operate. So think about this next time you're on the air and you're looking for that pile up, 13 colonies, de-expedition, field day, whatever it might be. is, are you being courteous, respectful, loyal, progressive, friendly, balanced, patriotic to other fellow hams? These codes aren't enforceable. They're not a set of rules. They're not FCC regulations. They're not laws. They're not tied to your license or operating privileges. But that's precisely why they matter so much. They represent what we choose to be ourselves. Not what we're forced to be, but what we choose to be. We want to be that good person. They remind us, that amateur radio isn't about propagation paths or equipment specs, but it's the character behind the radio. Did you help out the new ham on the air? Did you chew him out because he said 10-4? That makes the difference. Why do we think we lose amateur operators who get a new license and then don't get on the air because someone just chewed their butt about something stupid that they did? Did you train them? Did you mentor them? Did you help them out? It really makes a difference. In a world where it's easier than ever to transmit a signal, whether you're on 2 meters of a Zoom spot or a hot spot of some sort, calling Japan, or if you're on a extra class operator on your 15 meters, remember the tone and intent that you put out of that signal still matters. Again, whether you're calling a CQ on 40 meters or D expedition, check into a local net, you're an ambassador for the hobby. Every time you key that mic, click the FT8 mouse or hit the paddles. You're rag chewing 80 meters and are activating a park and somebody, butts in on you. Say, hey, welcome to group. Thanks for joining us. Like, wait a minute, this is not your frequency. Get off of here, Invite them in. Make them part of the conversation. You're not just transmitting RF. You're transmitting that tone, a representation of a tradition of amateur radio that's over 100 years old. So let's keep it strong, respectful, and welcoming for the next generation of hams. Take a moment to remember that this is a hobby we love, not just built on RF, but on respect of each other and others. Siegel gave us that North Star. Johnson helped update it for the modern operator. Together, they've just reminded us how we operate is not just important as what we operate with. So I'm leaving you with this. This will be the final word of the podcast here. Stay considerate, stay curious, and always keep the airwaves friendly. With that, I'm going to say 73. Thank you for joining the Ham Radio Guy podcast this week. Have a great week. I'll leave you with that note. And we'll talk to you again. Stay tuned to the channel. Always help out and subscribe. And if you can become a patron member and help me out during this time, I greatly appreciate it. 73 and take care. This is the Ham Radio Guy, Marvin W0MET.